Good evening, race fans. While the Real World IndyCar Series is wrapping up this weekend on the streets of Long Beach, the Elite Racing League's Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series is at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The virtual version tonight for the Hopegivers.com 225. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Gillespie along with Rishav Kozla. We're going to bring you tonight's action. Qualifying just wrapped up. Chad Frankenfield is on the pole, our points leader and the winner of the two first races so far this season. Henry Bennett is all the way in 7th position tonight. Adriano Pinero winds up on the front row along with Frankenfield, along with Bruno Miranda, Alexander Vandesant round out the second field. Now, Rich, we've got a bunch of drivers in the series skipping tonight, right?
Yeah, I mean, you go through the top 10. I think we've got a solid, 5 or 6 drivers there, skipping out on tonight's race. So interesting to note there, just 19 cars will be taking the green flag here in New Hampshire. So maybe, the virtual haulers didn't feel like driving all the way up to the northeast here.
Either that or they forgot it's the first full day of fall and they just decided, no, we're not going to race tonight. But Frankenfield, Pinero, Miranda, Vandesant round out your first two rows. Henry Bennett will actually be in 6th, I believe. We are pulling away now off of the grid tonight for 225 laps here at New Hampshire. What can we expect to see tonight?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I believe I'm correct in saying this is the first time the IndyCars have really raced here at New Hampshire, so it's really a bit of an unknown. We're familiar with the style of racetrack, though, this 1 mile sort of flat track. For an IndyCar, this is really a short track, but I think for many other cars, especially stock cars, which we're used to seeing run here, this is an intermediate size oval track here. So expect maybe some guys getting it wrong early on, maybe a couple of cautions early on in this race, but hopefully we kind of get some clear running, a chance for a proper short oval type IndyCar race. Think Phoenix for our IndyCar fans out there. A good race at Phoenix. So that's what we're hoping for.
Of course, the Real World IndyCar Series hasn't raced at New Hampshire for a number of years. As the green flag comes out, Frankenfield pulls away. We are underway at New Hampshire tonight in the Hopegivers 225. Frankenfield with about a 4-car lead heading into turn 1, followed by Pinero, Vandesant, Miranda, and Tony Schoen.
Yeah, so guys single filing out pretty quickly here. You see a couple of guys making a look to the inside to make some moves here. One of those is our points leader, Henry Bennett, looking to be the first driver in Elite Mega Driver IndyCar history to get 3 wins in a row, but we're under caution flag straight away. It looks like Ryan Schold, the one to bring out this particular caution. So this is on our restart here. Happened to this car and just a self-spin there on the bottom and straight up into the wall. Hard hit to the rear impact attenuator, and he'll probably be able to get that fixed, but not a great start there for Ryan Schold. And showing here real quick that something happened with Chad Frankenfield. Might just had to slow down here for the pace car. That's what that was. Any issues? Ooh. Oh, wow. Ooh. So checked up for the pace car. Pinero slams in the back of Chad Frankenfield. That's Frankenfield falling down the order. So he should get those positions back, and he will, because it all happened under caution. But there's still damage to Pinero's car and potentially to Chad Frankenfield's car as well. That was not a light tap.
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
yeah, Pinero's got to have damage to that front end to the nose. He's going to have that nose replaced. Yeah. And Frankenfield's got to have damage to the back end, to at least the back suspension, because it wasn't a clean hit on the attenuator.
Yeah, wow. I mean, how about that? I mean, there's no visible damage right now on Adriano Pinero's car. We saw some of it appear, though, when they collided. There was obvious contact between these two. Again, we don't know the exact effects of them. We'll see if anyone comes down pit road. Can we get Vandesant's in-car on that? Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can spot that, because that's going to be...
See whether that was just a case of not paying attention or just, who knows? Let's watch. Okay, the pace car is out. checking up a little bit. And now who's that ahead? That's okay. That's the car from Miranda's car. That's not Vandesant.
Yeah, so no, that was on board with Alexander Vandesant, but what we probably want to see here
is Pinero was the one who rear-ended him.
Yeah, Pinero is the guy who rear-ended Chad Frankenfield. That's the car that we want to really grab the onboard with.
We also ought to look at what happened with Anders Crone, because he's in the pits already, and he's been there for a bit, too. But let's look. This is the view from Pinero's car.
It's just continuous checking up. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. The pace car was going extraordinarily slow there for some reason. But, yeah, I mean, you're Adrian and Pinero. You've got to have a little bit more heads up than that. Chad Frankenfield shown as an incident again here, just now getting restarted. But I think that's just him going slow, because we are back to green flag racing as we're back here to live pictures. Now, Adrian and Pinero on your screens. Chad Frankenfield is your leader still in this race, so he looks to have gotten away with it pretty well. Pinero is the guy who probably got that front wing damage and is starting at the rear of the field right now.
Along with Ryan Schultz, Anders Crone is still shown as being in the pits. Frankenfield, Vandesant, Miranda, Tony Schoen round out your top four. Henry Bennett has moved up to fifth.
So potentially, Anders Crone never took the start of this race.
Interesting.
What
so that
might have been seen. Oh, no, actually, excuse me. Anders Crone did crash, so while we're under green here, we'll go back. This is before we went back to green flag racing. This is Anders Crone on your screen.
He's in the 47 car.
That white and blue car leading the way here. Not too sure what happened. He just kind of parked it and decided to call it a day.
Wonder if it was a netcode issue.
Yeah, maybe some network issue, something like that. But yeah, Anders Crone, I mean, just parked the car, jumped to pit road, and that was the end of the day for Anders Crone. But yeah, back to live pictures. Chad Frankenfield stretching out his gap on Alexander Vandesant. We are back to racing here at New Hampshire, but what a wild start to this race here. We've now got Bruno Miranda, Tony Schoen, and Henry Bennett all duking it out for the third position.
Frankenfield's lead is about just under 8/10 of a second right now over Vandesant.
Yeah,
having trouble reading the car numbers again.
Yeah, it's sometimes tough to see there, but Tony Schoen, we're watching here, just made the pass on Alexander Vandesant, or excuse me, no, Tony Schoen made the move on Bruno Miranda. Yep, and here we go, Miranda now about to lose that position to Henry Bennett. So look out for this number 1 car as he makes that move, slots into the 5th position now, or the 4th position, excuse me.
Bennett in the distinctive green car where you can't see the numbers, but we know it's him because he's always at the front.
Absolutely there, and here we go. So Miranda really struggling right now. He's about to lose this spot to Nick DeGroot as well. Miranda just continuing this kind of backward slide through the field. He's on the outside here, this not preferred line, and he might lose this spot to AJ Musselman here, heading into turn number 1 and 2 as well now. So
I wonder if something happened to him along the way.
Potentially, yeah. It's tough to tell. I don't see any damage to Bruno Miranda's car or anything that showed up on our tracker, any notifications. He might just not be on the right racing line right now. He's running up high, kind of having to run up high because guys are underneath him, but maybe just not super comfortable with that car right now, and that's showing here early on in this, in this race. Early on lap 12 is, wow, what a dive down into turn 1 and 2 by Craig Forsyth.
Craig Forsyth comes underneath.
Yeah, wow.
Now Miranda's full of, here comes Miranda, here comes Forsyth underneath Miranda for the pass.
Let's keep an eye on Craig Forsyth. He's moving up the field pretty quickly, made that deep dive into turn number 1, going to try and do the same thing again here into turn 1 this next lap. Great drive into the corner, and then he's able to get that position to drive it off the corner as well. So looking good there for the Canadian, up into 6th.
Meanwhile, Chad Frankenfield still up in front with a gap of about 8/10 of a second right now. We're on lap 14 out of 225 here in the Hopegivers 225 at virtual New Hampshire.
Yeah, these two, though, the top two are really separating themselves from the rest of the pack. Tony showing a whole 3 seconds back on Alexander Vandesant and Chad Frankenfield here as the caution flag is out once again. Looks like Tristan Wood the cause there. Let's take a look here.
Wood in the 11 car.
Dives it to the inside, and it's the same issue we saw there with Ryan Scholl. Exactly the same there. Runs a little bit too low. It's, the rear end just snaps on you. There's nothing you can do to catch that. I want to go on board, though, quickly with Tristan Wood and just show the viewers what that looks like from the driver's point of view, because it really is just instant when that car snaps around on you.
And that's the problem with these cars in the real world, is that all of a sudden they will just snap around with nothing. There he goes.
Yeah, you can see barely an overcorrection there or any correction on the steering wheel. The car just, the rear end just kind of gave up in terms of grip, and it's day over there for Tristan Wood.
As we get the first round of pit stops right now.
So Del Porto, DeGroot, and Frankenfield all making the call to stay out on the racetrack. Meanwhile, Vandesant leads the rest of the field down onto pit road. Alexander Vandesant, fresh off of his first ever NASCAR Cup Series victory in the Elite Racing Joint APS Cup Series. We raced at Circuit of the Americas just 2 days ago. Was victorious there after a great fight with R.C. Enerson and David Tooker. He's hoping to back that up with a win here in the Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series to kind of get his season kick-started, because it really hasn't been a great start for the number 97 here. One of the guys who was challenging for the championship late into last season. Right now, I think his best result, if I'm able to pull that up right here, is just a 9th position. So certainly hoping to improve on that tonight.
Well, unless you're Henry Bennett, this has been a disappointing season for everybody so far. We're just in the third race, though.
Yeah, definitely. Henry Bennett with back-to-back wins on two completely different racetracks. You go from the 2.5-mile racetrack at Pocono to the winding roads of Barber, the winding hills of Barber, I suppose, and was still dominant on both of those racetracks. So, yeah, I mean, the rest of the field has certainly been put on notice by Henry Bennett, the two-time defending champion, going for 3 in a row. Not just 3 race wins in a row, 3 championships in a row. And it's going to take a lot for these guys to defeat the number 1 car, but, it is certainly possible. They just need to start stringing together the results here.
And they'll have another short oval 2 weeks from tonight when we go to Nashville Super Speedway for the next race in the MegaDriver86.com Elite Racing League Series. We'll be back 2 weeks from tonight, October 8th, with the next race in this series. Meanwhile, we're on lap 17. Chad Frankenfield is still your leader, followed by Nick DeGroot, Victor Del Porto, Drew Akers, and Alexander Vandesant.
Lights still on the pace car. So we'll have probably one more lap here, and then probably go back to our standard restart policy, where we'll still have an extra lap here under green to get the field set before we officially go back to green flag racing.
So we are basically down to 16 cars right now, with the retirements apparently of Andres Crone, Ryan Scholl, and Tristan Wood.
Yeah, unfortunate for them. Drew Akers just hitting pit road there. Might just be for a quick top-up as well. But, yeah, we could see this field potentially early on here just quickly kind of, kind of thinning out. There we go. Lost the word there for a second. But, yeah, seeing the field quickly thinning out here to maybe around, 13, 14 cars. And then we get a long run towards the end, just running lap 18 of 225 here. So still a long way to go in this one.
Looks like the lights are out on the pace car. I could be wrong about that, but it looks like they're out.
Yep, pace car should be diving off here.
Pace car is off, but Chad will lead them around for one more lap.
Yep. Yeah, one more lap here under caution speeds. And then we'll get ready to head back to green flag racing when we take over to lap number 20.
And while we're waiting for them to come back around to green, Hopegivers rescues orphaned, abandoned, and at-risk kids and cares for the needy and depressed. In collaboration with their ministry partners around the world, we thank them for their support of tonight's race, the Hopegivers 225. As Chad Frankenfield brings him back down the main stretch, heads towards the starting line, and he'll pull away from Nick DeGroot. Heading down into turn number 1, those nearly identical black and yellow cars.
Yeah, so Frankenfield with that great jump on the rest of the field. When you're single filed out like that, you can kind of get away with that. What we want to pay attention to, especially on this restart, though, is going to be Alexander Vandesant. 15 lap difference, but of course a number of caution laps there on tires. So, what kind of advantage does Vandesant realistically have right now on the rest of the guys in front of him? We're yet to figure that out. We'll kind of pay attention to this white and blue car, see what progress he can make. Here he goes to the inside of Victor Del Porto, trying to make quick work of the number 27 and try and get back up to Chad Frankenfield.
Tucks back in, though. Didn't quite pull it off this time by. Let's see if he does it again coming down the main stretch this time around. Tucking in under that wing of Del Porto.
Not close enough to make a move this time by into turn number 1, but if he can get the exit off, he can maybe try and get into turns 3 and 4. Visually, looks like this track is just about the same in 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. I'm not actually too sure about the profiling of the banking, if there is any difference, but we can pull up just real quickly the track map here, and again, visually, it looks like it's the same on either end of the circuit, so you should have the same overtaking opportunities in turns 1 and 2 that you get in turn 3 and 4. Maybe there's some effect from the wind, depending on the direction it's pointing, but for the most part, we should have overtaking on both sides of the racetrack, as here we go into turn number 3, Alexander Vandesant making the move on Del Porto, but not able to complete it.
Not quite. Del Porto pulls back out, coming out of the turn, heading back down the main stretch. Now Vandesant going to make another move, coming down into 1. Makes it stick this time and gets ahead of Del Porto. Now he'll go after Nick DeGroot. Just a little ways up the track, about 2 seconds ahead.
Yeah,
Del Porto not giving you though.
Yeah, definitely not. So Del Porto just there on the rear wing of Alexander Vandesant, not letting him get away. He's trying to hold on the best he can, but I think he's going to start feeling a bit of that aero wake. I think Vandesant might just have a little bit more pace underneath him as well tonight. So Vandesant, once he kind of gets settled back in after that move, which it looks like he has been, starting to move forward here and try and close the gap on Nick DeGroot here. 1.2 seconds is the difference between DeGroot and Vandesant. We'll see how that changes over the course of the next couple of laps, if Vandesant can make some headway there, or if Nick DeGroot, with the tow that he's getting from Chad Frankenfield hanging on to our leader, is going to allow him to kind of hold on a little bit ahead of Alexander Vandesant.
Here's where Vandesant could help. If Del Porto would get back underneath him, they could run together and break that air a little bit and let Vandesant get closer in, but Del Porto has no incentive to help Vandesant do that.
Yeah, well, that last time by, Alexander Vandesant closed that gap just a little bit. Got about 0.3 of a second. You can see just a little bit closing in once again through the corners. That gap now down to 0.8 of a second between Nick DeGroot and Alexander Vandesant. Expect to see that maybe continue to close, or there may potentially be a bit of a gap here with the way the aerodynamics are on these cars, where you just kind of have to roll around right now and settle into a bit of a groove. As you can kind of see, the rest of the field is relatively spread out. A little bit of a close battle going on back here between Craig Forsyth ahead of Tony Schoen and AJ Musselman. This three-way battle here going on for the 7th spot. But outside of this kind of battle here, the top group of cars relatively far away from one another.
And Adriano Pinero has moved back up into 6th place right now, after being involved in that incident early on with Chad Frankenfield during the caution.
Yeah, chasing down Henry Bennett, who's running in the 5th spot. Meanwhile, actually up front, Nick DeGroot was showing briefly, Nick DeGroot showing right now, losing a ton of time to Alexander Vandesant. Here we go, the 97 car is right there, catching up to Nick DeGroot, and this could be a move here within the next couple of laps. This is what it looks like on board from the back of Nick DeGroot's car. We're going to see Alexander Vandesant, what can he do to get past and start chasing down Chad Frankenfield. Chad Frankenfield now is 2.5 seconds ahead of DeGroot. So for Vandesant, he wants to try and pass this 89 car as quickly as possible. Ooh, as he gets a little bit tight there exiting turn number 2.
That lets DeGroot pull away just a little bit. Meanwhile, Chad Frankenfield is up to about almost a 2-second lead now, while these two dice in 2nd and 3rd for DeGroot and Vandesant.
Yeah, this is really helping Chad Frankenfield. He's absolutely loving this because Nick DeGroot is holding back Vandesant, who's theoretically on right now the faster car just because he's got those fresher tires on.
Oh, and here he goes.
Might not be enough this time, Guy. We'll see if he can get the run off the corner. Great run off the corner for Vandesant. Really, really excellent. He does get the move done. I didn't think he was going to get that done. Wow.
And Del Porto's making a move on Nick DeGroot now.
Yeah, DeGroot might, his tires might be going off a little bit now. It's been 34 laps on these tires since the start. 2 cautions in that time, but still, you're talking about probably 26 or 27 laps probably on these tires under green flag conditions. So they're certainly starting to feel the wear versus those on Nick DeGroot's car. Or excuse me, on those on Alexander Vandesant's car.
Frankenfield up to about a 2.6 second lead now, while Vandesant and DeGroot have been dicing back in second and third.
Yeah, so now for Vandesant, he's got to try and see if he can close down that gap to Chad Frankenfield, or if he just settles in for the ride on this particular stint, maybe try and close that gap using tire and fuel strategy. We'll continue to pay attention to that battle. Meanwhile, for third position, it is Del Porto really putting on the pressure on Nick DeGroot.
And here he goes underneath. DeGroot holds him off slightly, heading down the backstretch. DeGroot will come underneath again. Backs out, tucks in under the rear wing. And he'll try to make the move this time coming by. Still not quite enough.
Yeah, just not able to get the run off the corner is what I'm seeing from Victor Del Porto. Nick DeGroot running that higher line, which kind of sacrifices, that entry of the corner allows Del Porto to get underneath him, but that gives him such a great exit. He's able to straighten up so much sooner than Victor Del Porto, carry some more speed off the corners, but eventually I think Del Porto is going to get by this time. Is that going to be the lap here? They're running side by side into one. I think this might be it for Victor Del Porto.
Let's watch. He gets ahead just a little bit. Can he make it stick?
No. Wow.
Not quite.
Great defensive driving by Nick DeGroot. And Pinero's getting back in the picture here as well. So Pinero, who's kind of in the same tier right now in terms of pace as Chad Frankenfield and Alexander Vandesant, had that incident with Chad Frankenfield under the caution, sent to the back, and he's now getting ready to join the battle in that top 3 once again, as these two have been squabbling it out. Del Porto can't get by Nick DeGroot. Pinero's going to try and get by both of these guys.
Let's watch as Pinero gets ready to take DeGroot on the inside, coming down the main stretch. Will he make that move going down into one? Too far back. Tucks right up underneath the rear wing. Heading down the back stretch. Del Porto's weaving just a little bit, trying to block.
Yeah, you can see there 3 different lines taken through turn number 3. So this, wow, you can see there Adriano Pinero trying to stay up on top of Victor Del Porto, but running out of track there very quickly. And you can see guys trying different lines. That's one of the great things about New Hampshire. That's why people love this racetrack so much, is you have different grooves that you can run. Clearly it was there in the stock cars, but we're seeing that here in the Indy cars as well, where you can run that high line, you can run this low line, and everything in between, and it puts on some great racing. Adriano Pinero goes from the top of the racetrack now to the bottom to try and get by Victor Del Porto, and I think he's going to get it this time by.
He pulls it off this time by and sets his sights on Nick DeGroot. He'll take the low line underneath, gets up near DeGroot. Not quite. Trying to get that toe down the main stretch. Here he goes again on the inside. He'll make it stick that time. Pinero now moves into third place.
Yep, so there we go. So Adriano Pinero now has 2 seconds to Alexander Vandesant. Vandesant has 2 seconds to Chad Frankenfield in front. So the top 3 relatively spread out. Victor Del Porto going to try again to get by Nick DeGroot, but isn't quite able to get there, even with Pinero taking away maybe the preferred line from DeGroot. So this is going to continue to be a great battle going on here between these two. 2 of the 3 guys who are yet to make a pit stop here tonight. So that's another question we've got to start asking ourselves, is Chad Frankenfield here in the number 15 car, our race leader, has not been down pit road yet. We're running lap number 45 of 225. What is the fuel window I personally have absolutely no idea, so that's going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye out on and figure out exactly where and when these guys are going to have to come down pit road.
We're about to find out because Frankenfield is going to have to pit at some point in the next 10 laps or so, I would believe.
I'd imagine it'd be relatively soon. I don't know how long these guys can go on a tank of fuel in these things around a shorter racetrack like this. Because I mean, you're probably lifting, saving a bit of fuel. You could probably go maybe 60, 70 laps. I would potentially think. Because it's such a short racetrack. But I honestly have no idea. I don't know exactly, what that fuel, that fuel usage looks like. So it could be a lot of numbers there. We're gonna have to just wait and see, I think.
Frankenfield's lead is 2.6 seconds over Vandesant. Del Porto still trolling around there, going after Nick de Groot now, trying to move up to a 4th and 5th.
Yeah, he's fallen back a little bit here. We're watching this battle for the 4th position.
Henry Bennett just cruising along in 6th place right now. He's sort of learned that you don't have to make those moves early. As long as you're there at the end, you can still make a move then.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, let's take a look at the pace, actually, of Henry Bennett. To be honest with you, it actually hasn't been overly impressive from this number 1 car. Right now, his fastest lap time of the race, slower than all of the cars in front of him. He did proclaim to,
This was his weakest track, he said.
Yeah, he did say, the short ovals are where he's the least comfortable. So potentially could we have found a bit of a chink in the armor of Henry Bennett. I'm sure, with the rest of the schedule, I don't think he'll mind as much, but, certainly don't count him out because there have been races we know in the past where he hasn't been the fastest car, but the races come to an as the night goes on.
We're on lap number 50 right now in the Hopegivers 225. Chad Frankenfield, your leader, up to 2.8 seconds right now over Vandesant, Pinero, Nick de Groot, Victor Del Porto, and Henry Bennett. That's your top 6.
Relatively spread out, but importantly, Alexander Vandesant starting to lose time here to Adriano Pinero. So Pinero looking like one of the fastest guys out on the racetrack right now, if not actually the fastest guy last time around. So Adriano Pinero looking to try and make a move up into 2nd place and maybe start chasing down Chad Frankenfield, while Vandesant, meanwhile, has kind of stalled out just a little bit. In fact, is losing time to Frankenfield.
We should point out Craig Forsyth has the fastest lap of the race so far at 184 miles an hour. Craig Forsyth ripped off a 183-mile-per-hour lap earlier on.
Forsyth.
Victor Del Porto is one of our biggest movers of the race right now. He's up 6 positions along with Brendan Madonia.
On screen.
Craig Forsyth is up 5 along with Michael Hossack.
On screen here we got Tony Schoen chasing down Craig Forsyth. These two in a battle for the 7th position on the racetrack. Meanwhile, back to Pinero versus Vandesant. That's what the gap looks like right now. It is absolutely race on here for the 2nd position. Both of these guys on the same tire and fuel strategy, coming down on that last caution. So equal age on those tires, same amount of fuel burned theoretically. So right now you're just seeing the raw pace of Adriano Pinero. Right now is better than what we saw from Alexander Vandesant. What we're seeing from Alexander Vandesant. Vandesant may have burned through his stuff maybe a little bit too early on in this run. That might be what we're seeing there as well. But both of these guys still fighting it out for 2nd position, while Chad Frankenfield really running away with this. Your pole sitter, Frankenfield hasn't had another one of those guys who hasn't really had a great start to the season, is hoping to turn things around tonight and has done everything right so far.
Chad significantly back in the points right now. He is tied for 23rd in the points so far after 2 races. And I believe he is about 35 points back. He's 39 points back of Henry Bennett.
Yeah, it really has not been a great run for Chad Frankenfield. The best finish of 15th, which took place at Barber last week. So again, obviously just 2 races done in the season so far, but still, pretty shocking there to see someone like Chad Frankenfield struggling so much. Pinero made the move on Alexander Vandesant. He's up into the 2nd position. It happened just there on your screen, and Vandesant already falling back so quickly. So Vandesant, I think, just struggling to complete this run here. He's got some work to do in terms of preserving his tires over the stint here. Adriano Pinero, meanwhile, let's see what the pace is like on this car. That last time around was about a 10th of a second faster than Chad Frankenfield. Can he start eating away slowly into that gap of the leader, and could we have a race here on for the lead of this race?
We're on lap 61 now. Chad Frankenfield showing no signs of heading for the pits just yet. He, DeGroot, and Del Porto are the only 3 that have not pitted yet. You would expect Chad to be coming down the pit. Chad and those other 2 to be coming down the pits with just the next lap or 2, realistically.
Sometime relatively soon is what you'd imagine here from these guys. And I'm sure if you're Chad Frankenfield, Alexander Vandesant, Nick DeGroot, you might be hoping for a caution right here, to maybe even out the playing field potentially. Or you do want to be off strategy here and run a little bit of a risk here, because they will go down a lap or 2 when they come down pit road. So, it could go one way or the other. It's tough to say.
Right. Well, you've only got about a 2.5 second lead, and we know the delta on the pit time is about 40 seconds, I would believe, coming down from pit entrance to pit exit, plus the stop time itself. That's when you're turning laps at 23 seconds. 23 seconds and change, you could easily fall a lap down. You might even fall 2 if you're not careful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the laps are so quick here that, and you are on pit road for a reasonable amount of time. It's not a, instantaneous service. It wouldn't shock me if you went 2 laps down here, honestly, just by coming down under green flag conditions. So definitely something you want to try and avoid if you can. But of course, if we stay green here, there's not much that these guys can do to avoid it.
Let's go on board with Chad Frankenfield for a second and see the view from his cockpit.
Absolutely here. So this is what it looks like from the helmet of Chad Frankenfield. You can see there. Start a lap around New Hampshire Motor Speedway as he rounds out of turn number 4 up to the wall.
This reminds me a lot of Milwaukee in terms of being basically a flat 1 miler.
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar type of racetrack there to Milwaukee. You can see Chad running kind of that, 1 lane off the bottom. We saw what happened to guys who maybe ran a little bit too low. You can lose the rear end so quickly. So you're running, this line here, not the shortest way around the racetrack. Want to get that left tire on that, that bottom seam. That might be where the banking kind of starts to build up around here. And I mean, it's over so quickly there. That's another lap complete around New Hampshire. 225 laps can go, extremely quickly if we stay green here, just because of the sheer pace that these cars are running at. So yeah, hugely impressive.
Top speed of the race so far is up to Alec Valvans, was at 184 early on, or just a couple lap or 2 ago. Right now, Frankenfield, Pinero, Vandesant, DeGroot, and Del Porto are your top 5. Rounding out the top 10, Henry Bennett, Craig Forsyth, Eric Troiano, Tony Schoen, and Alec Valvans.
Some top speeds. So you're actually seeing some pretty big differences in speeds here, actually. If we stay on board here with Chad Frankenfield, get a quick view at his dashboard, so you can see here dropping all the way down to 127 miles an hour, I think, was the lowest we saw there mid-corner. Obviously, you're later in the run here. There's not as much grip on those Firestones, but it just shows you. I mean, you're getting up to such big speeds like 185 miles an hour and then dropping down so low. I say only, but your average lap speed around here is about only 150 miles an hour or so. It's a little bit different to those bigger racetracks. And here we go, Chad Frankenfield onto pit road, making that call.
That'll put Pinero into the lead.
So here we go. So Frankenfield, the first to come down here under green flag conditions. Nick DeGroot stays out. So does Victor Del Porto.
So Frankenfield got about 70 laps out in the lead. The entire 70 laps so far before having to pit.
Yeah, there were 2 cautions in there, so I'd almost say maybe, let's say 65 laps, I want to say, maybe 60, 65 laps to be completed on a fuel tank. So, the guys who came in on lap 15 there look to about lap 80 or so potentially to see them come down pit road.
Nick DeGroot is now pitted. Frankenfield comes out of the pits in 14th.
So Frankenfield here is just 1 lap down, I believe. Yeah, it looks like just 1 lap down here. 1 and a bit laps down, so I'd say 1.5 laps down.
And Del Porto is pitted now as well. So everybody in the race is pitted at least once.
So Pinero takes over the lead here, but again, like I said, I think expect around lap 80, 81 is when we'll see these guys who've already made their stops come down. In theory, this should give a big track position benefit to Chad Frankenfield, actually, and all the guys who just came down pit road, because you're now running on fresh tires, much fresher tires than everyone else around you on the racetrack. We'll keep an eye out on what their lap times are, but last time around, Chad Frankenfield ran a 23.49 to Adriano Pinero's 24.24. So it is a big pace advantage right now for Frankenfield, who's right now trapped a lap down in that danger zone if it does go to caution conditions here in the next 5 laps before Adriano Pinero comes down. But otherwise, he should probably pick up a couple of seconds on the driver of the number 12 car when he comes down to take his pit stop.
Clearly no damage to Pinero's car from that collision at the beginning of the race under yellow.
Yeah,
when he rear-ended Chad Frankenfield's car.
Somehow both those drivers walked away with no damage there. I don't know quite how that worked out. That looked like a pretty heavy hit for them, but yeah, man.
Yeah, because you would have thought it would have torn up a little bit of the front suspension on Pinero's car.
You would have assumed, yeah. But it looks like he's running just fine. He's
Whoa, we have yellow. We have a yellow.
Who is that?
We have a crash on the back stretch. Let's see if we can tell. 4 cars involved.
Seeing AJ Musselman.
Ooh, that looks like Del Porto.
Del Porto is the one who lost it there and collects AJ Musselman. So let's go back down here.
And double hits him and hits him again.
Ooh, there's that car there. So 2 cars involved there. So Del Porto, Musselman. Who was the last car involved in that? Michael Hosak, I think, is the other car involved in that. That's the one who was initially hit. I think it's just those 3. Your leader, Pinero, has to avoid that. Look at that. Adriano Pinero. We got to watch the onboard here from this number 12 car because, wow.
But then let's take a look after that at the onboard from Del Porto's car and see if we can see what caused it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the same issue that we've seen hitting a couple of other drivers today. So that's awful for Chad Frankenfield. He's trapped a lap down there, I believe. But here we go. Onboard with Adriano Pinero. We'll get back to those implications later. The incident's already taken place up in front. Pinero, you're going to watch just how quickly he avoids this. You see this car rolling down the racetrack. Look at this. What is he doing? Great heads-up driving from.
And the caution had not come out yet.
Wow.
Yellow had not come out. So your top 6 cars are all in the pits. Pinero, Vandesant, Forsyth, Tony Schoen, Alec Balvans, and Brendan Madonia all in the pits.
Yeah, and they should maintain the track position on Chad Frankenfield. There's the car of Victor Del Porto. We wanted to go back and see what this incident looked like. So let's actually take a look and see.
And it looks like he's broken down in the middle of pit lane.
Yeah, so there's always something to look out for here in these. So here we go. Another view from Victor Del Porto here. looks like, my guess is we're going to see a very similar situation to what we saw. He gets just, you can see there, he gets below that seam, loses the rear end, and there's nothing you can do after that point.
Yep.
Completely unforgiving in these cars. It's ridiculous. 3 guys now we've seen so far today have that exact same incident take place, and it just takes place by putting your left side tire on that seam, and after that, it's day over. It's game over.
And it looked like he T-boned Michael Hosek there.
Yeah,
after hitting him once.
Yeah, poor Michael Hosek, AJ Musselman, both of them were just innocent bystanders in that incident, and that means we may be down to just 12 cars in the field now with those 3 taken out. But yeah, speaking of our lead battle, Chad Frankenfield was trapped a lap down, so had to stay out basically when this caution flag came out. So not only does he have older tires than the rest of the field, he's going to get the wave around here on Adriano Pinero, the rest of the lead drivers, but he's going to lose that track position as well. So that played out horribly for the driver of the number 15 car, the car that's dominated so far today.
We're on lap 80. Since we have a second here, why don't we go ahead and get one of our sponsors some love?
Absolutely. We'll be right back here with a quick break.
My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
We are back to live action right now. Lights are out on the pace car as we come around to complete lap number 81 here in the Hopegivers 225, the Mega Driver 86 Elite Racing League Series. The pace car is off right now. Pinero will be your leader. We will take one more lap under yellow. Alexander Vandesant. Craig Forsyth is in third. Tony Show in fourth. Alec Balvance fifth. Chad Frankenfield is now in sixth place. He did get his lap back. He's at the end of the lead lap. Nick DeGroot is in seventh. Henry Bennett is in eighth. Eric Troiano ninth. Brendan Madonia is in 10th place.
Yeah, Madonia, Miranda, Akers. So just 12 cars rounding out the rest of this field here. So we're quickly kind of whittling down, the guys who are still running. But that could give us some interesting results here. You got some drivers up inside the top 10 with chances to make some big runs. But here we go. Pinero versus Vandesant, round number 2. We're back to green flag racing.
Let's watch as Pinero dives down into turn 1. Vandesant taking a higher line.
Going to keep an eye out on Frankenfield as well, down in the 6th position. He's certainly going to be a man on a mission trying to get those positions back. Your pole sitter, guy who set the fastest lap of the race so far today. Actually, no, not the fastest lap, but one of the fastest laps of the race today. Trying to get that track position back.
That is Frankenfield in 6th in the yellow and black car, primarily black with some yellow trim on it. Moving up past Balvance into 5th place now. Setting his sights on Tony Schoen in 4th.
Side by side, Frankenfield and Schoen. Frankenfield has to check up there through the corner, though. Still there on Tony Schoen, though. Schoen clears Frankenfield. Frankenfield, you can see him, really wants to get by here, but Schoen giving him very little room there on the bottom. Frankenfield very close to that apron as well, or that bottom lane, I suppose. We're calling it the apron here because you basically touch it, your car's going around there. But yeah, I mean, Frankenfield really towing the line there. He's driving aggressively, trying to get back up to the front of this pack.
He makes that pass on Tony Schoen. Schoen coming back down, getting ready to try to make another move, going back into one. Frankenfield about 2 car lengths ahead.
Meanwhile, up front, battle is on between Pinero and Vandesant. Vandesant's been closing the gap the past couple of laps, just little by little.
Running virtually identical lap times. About 23.5 seconds.
Yep, that last time, 2 laps ago, they were virtually the same. That last time, Pinero maybe grabbed a little bit on Vandesant, but I think we might see it swing back in Vandesant's favor a little bit on this lap. Look at that pace he's able to carry down the back straightaway. Loses maybe a bit in the corners when you get that aero wash, but the draft is certainly helping Vandesant stay in touch here.
Yeah, we're talking about 6/100ths of a second difference between the two in lap times.
Yeah, it's really nothing here, and you can see there. That last time was 3/100ths of a second difference in lap times between Pinero and Vandesant. So these guys really neck and neck right now. Vandesant's going to need to find a bit of a pace advantage if he wants to make the overtake, but great to see just how close these guys are running and just how competitive this field is. Frankenfield up to 4th, trying to chase down Craig Forsyth.
It looks like Forsyth is about still 0.4 of a second ahead of Frankenfield.
Yeah, the issue for Frankenfield, though, is even when he gets by Craig Forsyth, he's now 2 seconds behind this lead battle. So, yeah, he's got some catching up to do. Very quickly, Forsyth has fallen away from the lead of this race.
Plenty of time, though. We still are on lap 91 out of 225 tonight at virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I believe we're down to 13 cars listed as still running.
Yep, you are correct there. So 13 cars left in this race here. You can see 2 of the battles going on right now on the racetrack. The one for the lead has kind of separated a little bit as Adriano Pinero has been pulling away from Alexander Vandesant the past couple of laps. Meanwhile, Chad Frankenfield, who's been running faster than Craig Forsyth, but behind Craig Forsyth, he's looking to make a move. He's looking to the inside here in turn number 1.
And he'll make that move and make the pass stick going into turn 1, coming around, heading down the backstretch right now. Forsyth not giving up completely. Now Frankenfield tucks ahead. Forsyth puts his wing right under Frankenfield's bumper, hoping to get some tow down the main stretch. Not happening, though. Frankenfield pulling away by about 0.4 of a second now.
Yeah, pretty significant there. So now, wow, okay, here we go. This is our leaders, what they look like. On that last lap, the top 3 drivers were separated by 0.7 of a second in terms of overall lap time. It switched a little bit this past lap here, but Chad Frankenfield is the fastest of the top 3 cars and is running in 3rd position. He's got some work to do to chase down Alexander Vandesant, but it certainly do not count out Chad Frankenfield as we're approaching the 100-mile, 100-lap mark in this race.
And his tires are 8 laps older than the leaders in front of him, Pinero and Vandesant, because he was stuck out in the traffic during that last caution.
Absolutely, yeah. What that does do, though, is it keeps him in that danger zone, unfortunately, which means that if he does come down pit road again, he could potentially be in that exact same position if the caution flag comes out. You'd hate to see that happen twice in one race, but it's certainly not beyond the realm of possibility.
Chad is turning laps at about 184 right now compared to 177 for Pinero.
Yeah, so Frankenfield just carrying so much more speed off of the corner, so he's driving with that anger. Pinero maybe with the fresher tires, but he's just preserving them maybe a little bit more. Chad Frankenfield knows he's got some work to do, catch back up to the rest of these guys, so he's right now pushing early on in this stint, hoping that he can kind of close that gap up. And we know, I think generally, Chad Frankenfield maybe had just a little bit more raw pace than the other 2 cars in front of him so far today.
That and Pinero may be trying to save some fuel right now, because if they're getting about 70 miles on a tank, laps on a tank, they're going to be cutting it really closely at 80 laps. They last pitted on 78, so they've still got to get it 2 stops plus a few laps. They need to save some fuel here.
Yeah, one of the big important things on these ovals, just like you said, they're saving fuel, getting that strategy to work out perfectly for you. So we'll see how this plays out. Chad Frankenfield maybe a little bit harder for him to run the same fuel strategy as the rest of these guys, because he's 8 laps off set from the rest of this field.
Right, he's got to get he's going to have to stop 3 more times unless he gets a lot of yellow.
Yeah, so for him it makes sense, just push right now. There's no point in wasting time fuel saving, because it's not really possible to do that. He's going to have to make that extra stop potentially on the rest of these guys unless things fall his way, which, I think if we have another yellow here and it's while these guys are all around the same on fuel and on the same runs and haven't made different amounts of pit stops, he kind of gets a bit of a break there, but right now in a bit of a tricky situation if we stay green to the end.
Victor Del Porto has returned to the track. We're now up to 14 cars still running, but Del Porto is significantly far behind, but we do have 14 cars on the track. As Pinero comes down, we are on lap 103 now, getting close to the halfway point of the Hopegivers 225. Right now, if you look at Frankenfield and the performance he's showing right now, we got to call him our Blue Egg Marketing Punch Above the Weight Class race right now. Blue Egg helps you punch above your weight class with marketing for small businesses. You can always find out more online. Blue Egg Marketing. We want to thank them for their support of the Elite Racing League as well.
Sponsor there for Tyler Fody, who've come on board with the Elite Racing Leagues and Elite Racing Network as well. But Tyler Fody, the man who's second in the championship right now, opting not to race tonight. And honestly, this is the type of track where you'd expect to see, maybe Tyler Fody being the dominant force. Comes from, short track, this style of racing here on the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series. We've seen him with success on tracks like this. You go back to WWT Raceway last season, I think where he was, or was it Phoenix, where he was absolutely dominant up until the very end, and a late race caution lost him that race. But you'd expect him to run well at these tracks. Not racing today, only has one start this season, and that's at Barber.
Pinero's moved up to about a 2 1/4 lead over Vandesant.
Yeah, Vandesant, I think, struggling right now. He's
He's turning laps 3 miles an hour faster than Pinero, but he's still falling behind a little bit.
Yeah, we've got a yellow flag out, so here we go. So for Chad Frankenfield, that's perfect. But
let's see what happened.
The one that brought it out, it looks like it was Bruno Miranda. I think we're about to see the exact same incident we've seen from everybody.
Here we go.
Identical to the last 3 cautions that have come out of this race. Bruno Miranda, the next one to fall, from that. I mean, that's just such a strange...
He didn't take anybody with him, though.
Yeah, he didn't. So great to see there. He was thankfully running kind of on his own on the racetrack. But, man, I mean, that's just so rough. And we're going to grab the onboard picture for Bruno Miranda as well because, and we have a helmet cam here on Bruno Miranda. But, I mean, I just want to show people just how little control you really have in terms of... Oh,
yeah.
In terms of what you're doing on this, when you're going through this corner. So, oops. Give us a sec there. Going back to our replay.
Okay.
And here we go. We'll get the onboard. Here's the cockpit cam from Bruno Miranda, and you're about to see just how little control you really have when you dip that tire. There you see just slightly below, and it's gone. You got nothing.
Meanwhile, our top 10 cars are all in the pits right now. This will put everybody back on even footing.
Yes, it will. So here we go. Adriana Pinero on to pit road. Chad Frankenfield there as well. They'll race off of pit road. Who gets the advantage? It's Vandesant, who leads the field off of pit road. He gets a huge advantage there.
Frankenfield.
Yeah, so Vandesant, Pinero, Frankenfield. So Pinero loses the lead of the race on pit road. So we're about to see here Vandesant versus Pinero. This time Vandesant's the man who gets to lead this field back to green. We'll see what kind of advantage that gives him. We haven't seen him running up front. He's so far only been the chaser today. Chad Frankenfield obviously back in this battle, doesn't have cars to pass to contend with these guys. So I think we could be set for a very intriguing battle here. You know, for the lead here, because I wholeheartedly believe, and this is nothing against, you know, Alexander Vandesant or Adriana Pinero, but I think right now they're in inverse speed order, with Vandesant of the top three being the slowest of those three, then Pinero, then Frankenfield. So that could certainly lead to some very, very good racing here when we get back to green flag.
So I'm wondering why everybody's having that same problem coming out of turn 2, because we've seen all 4 cautions tonight so far have been guys coming through there by themselves. No aero wash being taken off, no nothing. They're just having the back end come around on them.
So that's a great question. That's actually something that I'm quickly going to see if I can look up here about the banking here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Is it variable? And I believe it is. So yeah, so variable banking between 2 to 7 degrees with 1 degree banking on the straightaways. So what I think it might be is that, you know, it's every single time, and we can sit here on board actually with Alexander Vandesant as they go through here at a bit of a slower speed, and we'll take a look at, you know, what I'm talking about. There's going to be a seam here on this bottom lane, and you can see that there. This seam just that's running along with those dotted white lines. I think that's where that gradient begins. So it's probably only 2 degrees down there, and it starts to build up. You can see just how it kind of looks like it continues to get steeper to the right side on Vandesant's car. So it might just be the corner's too tight, there's not enough banking, and you've got one tire, you know, you've got a tire adjusting from different types of banking, from maybe a bit steeper to a bit shallower, and that's what's catching these guys off. It's basically like putting your left side tire on the apron, which is kind of why I've been referring it almost to the second apron tonight. These cars just cannot handle that. So I think that's, and
most of these guys aren't used to running on variable banking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really don't.
We haven't had one this season yet.
Yeah, you really don't see that. That's a pretty unique feature, you know, here at the Magic Mile up here in New Hampshire. You know, you're used to having kind of a fixed set of banking on the corner, and you know, Indianapolis is what, 9 degrees of banking, I think, in each corner. So, you know, and it's continuous all the way up throughout the racetrack. So here, that's obviously, it puts on great racing. It lets guys run, you know, higher up the racetrack because you have more banking supporting you. But it means that when that transition takes place, man, that's a dangerous part of the racetrack. You've got to find a line and stick to it when you go through these corners. You can't really adjust in these cars. That's what I think we're seeing guys struggle with.
And this is the only track, I think, this season where we'll see variable banking, because we don't have it at, I don't think Nashville has it. And I know Milwaukee doesn't. Michigan doesn't really have variable banking, does it?
I'm going to take a look. Yeah, so we're back to green flag racing, but let's see. Nashville Superspeedway, which we've got coming up in 2 weeks' time, has 14-degree banking straight up, so no issues there. Michigan is the next one, right?
Yeah. Because Milwaukee is flat, then we've got Detroit, which is a road course. And finally, Worldwide Technology Raceway, which is also not really variable banking either.
Yeah, so, yeah, and Michigan is standard, straight-up 18 degrees banking through the turns. So, yeah, this is the only racetrack, I think, this season that we're going to visit with variable banking. But here we go, race on for the lead. Adriana Pinero versus Alexander Vandesant. They're already going at it.
Drag race down into turn 1. Vandesant will be on the inside, but Pinero is ahead.
Yeah, easily taken over by Adriano Pinero, so Vandesant not really getting the advantage on that restart that we're used to seeing the leader get, and Pinero takes back over the lead. What surprises me, though, is Chad Frankenfield a little bit further behind the rest of these guys.
Vandesant went really high in that turn.
Yeah, he's already losing a ton of time here. Maybe got a little bit more wash on the front wing than he might have been expecting. And there you see it again. Vandesant just goes really high. He enters the corner low, but then drives it up really high into the corner. So interesting line from Vandesant. Not one that I think we're used to seeing. Normally, guys will kind of enter on their lane, and you're seeing a little bit of a different run there. He gets back down to the standard racing line this time by, but yeah, very different from Alexander Vandesant, and he's losing time right now to Adriano Pinero and Chad Frankenfield.
Wonder if that was a technical issue on his system that might have caused that as opposed to doing it deliberately.
Yeah, potentially. It could also just be maybe just driving it a little bit too hard. You know, he sees Adriano Pinero makes that move so quickly on him. You start overdriving the car, maybe trying to think, oh, how can I get that spot back? How can I find that pace that he's got that I don't? And you overdrive the car just a little bit into the corner. So, yeah.
Pinero with a 1.2 second lead right now over Vandesant.
Yeah, just how quickly that can build up. Pinero already starting to gap. Frankenfield, though, kind of surprising to me to see that he hasn't been really close in the gap to either of these guys. Honestly, of the three top drivers, Chad Frankenfield has been the slowest over the past couple of laps. He's just struggling right now to hold on to Vandesant and Pinero, so kind of shocking. I don't know if maybe he's going into a bit of a fuel save, tire save mode and just riding along here in third position, or if he's starting to struggle a little bit now that he's having to deal closely with these guys who are just as fast, but now have that aero wash as well.
Alec Balvans is up to hit a 188 mile per hour lap, our fastest lap of the race so far.
Balvans flying there, might have had the help of the draft there down the back straightaway to get that extra speed there to hit 188 miles an hour, but huge pace there from Balvans. Good work by him running around the outside now on Eric Troiano, trying to get by.
Vandesant and Frankenfield both hitting 187 at the same time.
Yeah, and that's actually top speed there at the racetrack. But
whoa!
Contact!
We've got contact.
Into the wall
Into
goes
the wall.
Balvans. He's going to be stationary. No caution flag, though, called out, though. Stopped on the track. There we go. There should be a caution. No, none. We stay under green flag racing. Wow.
Wow.
That even happened on the race line. We'll go back and watch exactly the same thing again there, but you see the contact mid-corner. Balvans into the wall on the racing line, but, you know, the race officials decide, no, he can clear it up quickly enough that, there you go, we stay in green flag racing. So, there you go. Adriano Pinero continues to lead over Vandesant and Frankenfield.
And here comes Frankenfield. I think that's Del Porto. He's passing lapped traffic.
Yes, it is. Makes that move complete. Continues the chase on Alexander Vandesant. And we're we're one lap away from just 100 laps to go.
Pinero with half a second lead over Vandesant. Frankenfield about 9/10 of a second back from Vandesant in third. Forsyth, Schoen, Nick DeGroot, Henry Bennett, Brendan Madonia, Eric Troiano, and Drew Akers rounding out your top 10. And it looks like everybody else is at least a lap back.
Yeah, Balvans, who is having a good run, running only in the 11th position right now just because of how far back the 12th and 13th place drivers are. In fact, I think 13th position Bruno Miranda isn't even on the racetrack right now and is still 13th ahead of the running Victor Del Porto. So it just shows the guys who are a little bit further back. Del Porto actually just finally now makes the overtake on Bruno Miranda for position. These guys running about 20 laps down from our leaders. But, you keep that car running. If you can, run laps around the racetrack, you can make up quite a few positions. We saw that at Pocono. You just kind of keep that car running, and who knows what kind of results you can get out of it.
Especially with all the guys sitting out tonight.
Absolutely. This is a huge points opportunity for a lot of these guys that we're seeing kind of on the bottom half of the top 10. The biggest surprise for me, honestly, is Henry Bennett in 7th. His worst finish, last season was an 8th place. And here he is running 7th right now in race number 3. Of course, these 2 wins, into the race, but man.
He's just coasting tonight.
He's given the others some sense of opportunity to maybe try and catch up, and then he'll come into this next race and dominate again.
Well, as you noted before, he has said this is his worst track, so.
Absolutely, yeah.
But your point is a good one, Rich, that Chad has not been able to make up any time on Vandesant or Pinero.
Yeah,
after that last round of pit stops.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping this top 3 would be a little bit more competitive, but once Pinero got by Vandesant, the gaps really haven't changed all that much. They've kind of just held station right now, and again, could just be a strategy here in terms of playing out the stint, but yeah, not exactly what I was expecting here from this particular run.
As of right now, we have 10 cars on the lead lap.
No super close battles. We got a bit of a move there. Nick DeGroot looking to defend from Henry Bennett. Ooh, that got close between those guys.
Yeah, that got interesting.
Yeah, Tony Schoen, Nick DeGroot, and Henry Bennett all racing together. For Henry Bennett, obviously, his big thing is survival. He always finishes these races, gets results. Doesn't want to get involved in an incident like that for sure.
Yeah. That came really close to being very interesting. And I think Henry is going, just let me get back out in front of these guys and stay out of the way.
Yeah, honestly, for Henry Bennett, I mean, if this is his worst track, if this is where he's least comfortable, if he can walk away with a P7 finish, I think he'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Because you drop your lowest finish anyway, so if he can drop a P7. Nick DeGroot making a move on show. Oh! Almost flips the back end.
Yeah, gets very close between these guys, and I mean, we know just how easy it is to lose these cars. You can't really change your trajectory all that easily.
I don't know if that was Schoen cutting him off or if Nick was going up too high.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, especially around here, because you've got so many different lines and places that you can run.
Let's go on board with Nick. Let's watch this battle from on board.
Absolutely. Here we go. So Nick DeGroot will pull up the dashboard, show you the speeds that he's running here into 5th gear, clicks over. Going to look to the inside now on Tony Schoen. We might have been just on board there for the move for Nick DeGroot. This is what he's able to see, and you see that drive up to the wall. He's blocking Tony Schoen, and there you go. Schoen now has to stare at the gearbox of Nick DeGroot's car.
And we're on board with Schoen. And Henry Bennett gets ahead of him.
So Schoen falling back 2 positions in the span of about a lap there. And now Henry Bennett.
Didn't even see Henry coming.
Yeah, Henry Bennett now, who dives down to 3rd gear through the corner, actually. I think that's lower than we've seen anyone else run. So drops it down. Yeah, drops from 4th down to 3rd gear, trying to get that extra rotation, I think, mid-corner. Not quite able to close in on Nick DeGroot right now, but Henry Bennett up to 6th position, +1 on his qualifying spot. He's going to continue chasing down DeGroot there with kind of that high entry, dives it down low to get the run off the corner. It's working for him. It's not giving Henry Bennett any real opportunity to make an overtake. So right now, good defensive driving as well from Nick DeGroot.
But it also keeps Tony Schoen behind him.
Absolutely, it does. Tony Schoen, though, about to potentially lose a spot here to Brendan Madonia, Eric Troiano, both chasing down the 31 car of Schoen. Schoen right now struggling a lot. I think maybe just starting to lose a little bit of pace on those tires. Just 30 laps into this run, just about halfway in this tire run, actually. So still a long way to go for anybody who's burnt through their tires this early. So.
Schoen would have burnt through them faster than anybody else because they all pitted on lap 109.
Yep. So So if he has burned through his stuff just that little bit too quickly, that's.
Oh, here we go.
Not great for him. He's going to have
Here
to
comes
hold on.
Madonia.
Oof. Holds on right now.
But for how long?
That's the question, isn't it? Here we go. Madonia might be setting up for another move into turn number 1. He looks to the inside. He's too far back this time by.
Not quite close enough to get the toe and really get that draft move off and get the slingshot around him. Madonia tries to shut off the inside, coming down the backstretch.
Troiano following this battle as well, hoping to capitalize when Madonia makes the move and slot by Tony Schoen as well. But right now, Madonia trying to kind of regroup to make another effort here on Tony Schoen. Hasn't quite been able to get back to the gearbox of the 31. Seeing if he can get a run put together, though, and kind of dive it into a corner. See if he can just take away some of that air from Tony Schoen and make that move work. But as of right now, he's not quite able to get up there.
Adriano Pinero's lead is up to about 1.5 seconds over Vandesant. Back up at the front of the pack.
Go on board.
Tony Schoen, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's go on board here and watch with Brendan Madonia as this battle continues to.
Whoa, we've got.
We've
got a car on the wall.
Michael
We've got a
Hopegivers.
caution.
Caution is out. Michael Hopegivers brings it out in the exact same position. I think I can tell you exactly how this crash is going to go down. He's already on the apron, and there it goes.
And he slowed down to let the leaders go by. And then getting back into it, just spun around.
Yep, so caution number 5. Exact same way. The first 4 cautions took place on the apron in turns 1 and 2. Michael Hopegivers bringing out this next one here. We'll go back to live pictures, but I suspect we're going to see everybody coming down pit road. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Running lap 50, you're going to have to make one more pit stop here anyways. So
but here's the thing, though. We're at lap 147 out of 225. The most anybody's been able to get is 70 laps. So you're still going to have to make one more stop after this one. There's nobody's going to be able to get all the way unless we have a yellow.
Yeah, exactly. I think and even with the yellow, I think you'll need a couple of yellows to really help you, because Chad Frankenfield had 2 yellows to help him, and he still had to come down pit road on lap 71. So yeah, I think no matter what, you're basically bringing that car down pit road. Here we go, Pinero versus Vandesant. Vandesant's had some great work by his pit crew, but not quite able to beat Pinero this time by. So it's going to be Pinero, Vandesant, and Frankenfield leading the field back to green. And for Frankenfield, he's probably got to be thinking, man, I need to clear Vandesant and just put myself in the same league as Pinero this time by, because he kind of got stuck, I think, behind Vandesant, couldn't make a move. Kind of has to put himself into that second spot if he wants to make a move.
No real change. Eric Troiano got ahead of Brendan Madonia coming out of the pits. It moved into 8th place right behind Tony Schoen. We are also showing Drew Akers in 10th place. All of those cars are on the lead lap still.
Absolutely, and while they're pacing around... Sorry?
Sorry, I was looking. Okay, I saw somebody hitting the pits. That, I believe, was Michael Hopegivers or Alec Balvance hitting the pits.
Yeah, I think it was Michael Hopegivers there sitting on pit road. Alec Balvance has still been on pit road since that big incident that he had earlier on in the race. So I think we're down to just 12 running cars. Not sure if Hopegivers is going to continue. I don't think his damage was too significant, though, so he might still be able to keep that car running.
The livery on his car looks a lot like several of the other cars in the 7th, 8th, and 9th position spots. So you look at those and going, wait a second, is one of those guys pulling down?
Yeah, difficult. Yeah, you certainly wouldn't want to be a spotter for any of these race cars because it gets very tricky to actually identify some of them. Very similar liveries amongst a number of these drivers. While we're pacing here, we're going to step away real quick here for another break on another word from our premier sponsors here at the Elite Racing League. So we'll be right back with you guys before we head back to Green Flag.
My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
We're back to live action right now. 74 laps left to go in the Hopegivers 225, the Mega Driver 86 Elite Racing League Series tonight. Good evening, everyone. Mark Gillespie along with Rishov Kozla with you. Adriano Pinero has led most of the way right now. Still holding a lead as we come around to start action again under the green flag. He'll pull away from Alexander Vandesant. Chad Frankenfield up in third place as they head down into turn one. Rich.
Yeah, so if you're Frankenfield, now is the opportunity to get by Vandesant. You've got to make this move work if you want to contend with Pinero for this race win. We've got a car around. It's Nick DeGroot.
Nick DeGroot off on the inside.
I think he keeps it off the wall, but no caution's going to come out because he stays off the racing line. So there you go.
But he falls back to the end of the lead lap.
Back to this battle here for second place. Frankenfield, like I was saying, has to get by Vandesant if he wants a shot at this win to retake the lead here and pass Adriano Pinero. He's got to make this move work. And right now struggling once again to get by your second place driver, Alexander Vandesant, just not able to kind of line up and make that move.
No, Vandesant is cutting off the air every chance he gets and basically taking that line away from Chad. And that's letting Pinero pull ahead. He's got a half-second lead right now over second and third place. And stretching that out now pretty much every lap around, adding a little bit of a tenth of a second or so per lap.
Yeah, Pinero right now is doing a really good job there, just, again, separating himself. That last lap, I mean, they ran identical lap times, but it just looks like Pinero's continuously just kind of extending that gap to second place Vandesant. Vandesant right now, though, under heavy pressure from Chad Frankenfield. Frankenfield wants to make this move, wants to get by into second position. Pinero, though, just on that last lap, went purple. Fastest lap of the race. Adriano Pinero is flying up front.
23.39 for Pinero last time around at 187 miles an hour. Frankenfield has actually gone a little faster at 188, but the lap time is not quite as fast. He's peaked out at 188.
Yeah, just getting that extra bit of draft there from Alexander Vandesant in front of him. Helps down the straightaways, but it's hurting him in the corners. He's getting that aero wash that kind of sends him back up the racetrack. You can see him. He ducked out briefly there for a moment, trying to trick Vandesant into a defensive move. Doesn't work that time, though. Vandesant staying strong here, defending well against Chad Frankenfield just fast enough, then taking away the right lines to prevent Frankenfield from making a move. And right now, I think Vandesant is Adriano Pinero's best friend. Pinero, with some drafting help, he's going to get by that lapped car, but yeah, he continues to extend his lead.
And if if Chad needs to show some patience here. There's still plenty of time. If they work together, they can catch back up to Pinero. But if they're going to spend all their time fighting each other, they're going to let him get too far ahead.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is, I don't know exactly what, the effect is aerodynamically between, when you've got a car right behind you in terms of if it's actually taking off any air from you, because for some interesting reason, even if these guys aren't running side by side, just the simple fact of being close together on the racetrack is allowing Pinero to kind of, run away from Vandesant and Frankenfield. So somehow maybe there needs to be some communication between these two drivers that allows them to say, hey, look, Pinero's stepping away from us. We know that, together we can probably take him down. We can probably, either one of us can win this race. But, of course, they're not on the same team. They don't have any affiliation. It's going to be tough for them to maybe get that message sent to each other.
The problem is every time Chad pulls out to try to make a move, he slows them both down.
Yeah, that definitely.
Pinero up to about a 9/10 of a second lead over Vandesant.
And Vandesant doing a good job right now just gapping Chad Frankenfield because on that last lap, Frankenfield, we're talking hundredths of a second here, but 5/100ths of a second slower than Alexander Vandesant, and what that's resulted in is a couple of car lengths extra, breathing room for Alexander Vandesant. So we're getting back into that similar rhythm that we had before that last caution came out, where, neither of these guys up front can make a move because there's just not enough of a pace advantage for any of them.
All right, let's start talking that final pit stop. We're within the window now where if you stop now, you can make it to the end.
Yeah, you are. So
do you stop quickly and hope for a caution, or do you hold on, or do you stop quickly and then hope that everybody else gets caught up with a caution and that you can actually stay out on the track and have enough fuel to finish, or do you wait and hope for a caution?
I'm going to say you run that car, until the tank runs dry, basically, unless someone really coaxes you into a different type of move and you have to cover someone that you're battling with. And that's just because at this racetrack, we saw it there with Chad Frankenfield. You pit under green flag, you're going down a lap and a half to the guys you were fighting. Wherever you were on the racetrack, you're going down a lap and a half to that. And you do that under green, until the guys that you're fighting with, until the leaders come down pit road, you're trapped that lap and a half down. No matter how much pace advantage you have, you're still trapped down. So what you're trying to do is run the minimum risk there. And so, yeah, you can gain some pace, you can gain some track position. Ideally, you want to pit, maybe 1 or 2 laps ahead of your rivals, but, realistically, you want to run that tank nearly dry. You want to hope that you get a caution here, hope that you stay on this lead lap.
But you've only got 12 cars, so that reduces the odds that you're going to get a caution.
Exactly. So, yeah, for me, if I was someone's crew chief here, on the pit wall, I'm telling him, stay out right now. We're going to run this tank dry. I'm going to pay attention to what other guys around me are doing. But, I don't know if I want to be the first guy to make that call to come down pit road because unless you're really tight on fuel and you're able to say, you've got 5 laps of fuel left and you pit with 5 laps of fuel left, and kind of everyone else has to pit within those next 5 laps, sure, that kind of you can make that move. But, you're not going to
if everybody else, but if you go ahead and pit early and take that hit, everybody else, even if it stays green, everybody else is going to have to pit at some point, and you can get those laps back and get back into the lead. And if they all have to pit under a yellow, you can get back up into the lead. So,
well, you run the risk there of you pit under green, you go down a lap, even if the caution comes out, if the caution comes out, you're trapped down a lap, you get the wave around, you're now back on the lead lap, but you're running older tires than the guys in front of you. We saw that happen with Chad Frankenfield on that second run that we had, the first really long run of this race. And I think for me, that's a little bit high risk. Someone might make that move because you'll have a pace advantage for sure, but it's high risk for sure because a caution comes out, you're trapped.
If Kendall Noah Player was in this race, he'd do that move.
Oh, definitely. Kendall Noah Player is always there trying to come up with that different tire strategy, that different strategy to get some moves made. But no Kendall Noah Player tonight here so unfortunate there. But I'm curious. Someone could definitely make that move, make that early stop, and try and run it to the end here with the pace advantage with those fresher tires. But man, it's a risky call, and personally, I'm a very low risk guy. It's what are the high percentage low risk moves that you can make, and go for those. Make the moves out on the racetrack rather than on pit road. But there are guys who are running a little bit further back who might want to make that move, try and see if they can get 1 or 2 extra spots because of it, who aren't too worried about that championship battle.
I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You've still got plenty of races left in the season to make up points, but if you want to sneak out a win, I'm not saying do it. I want to just play. I'm playing both sides here. Just
definitely.
trying to make the argument.
Oh, definitely. No, there's definitely an argument to be made for that strategy, and I'd love to see someone give it a shot. There's nothing I love than to watch somebody make that call. I'm just saying I don't think I'd be the person to make that call.
Well, let's see who has the guts to try it.
Up front, the battle not really changing much. If anything, Vandesant's closed a little bit to Pinero. I think Pinero maybe got bottled up a little bit by that lapped car. But it's half a second between these top 3 drivers, and they've completely separated themselves from Craig Forsyth here in the 4th position. Forsyth, though, great job tonight, up 8 positions from his starting spot, just running his own race, a clean race, hasn't really gotten involved with anybody. If he comes across the line, grabs 4th spot, I think that's a really successful night from the Canadian driver there.
Yeah, and we are down to 50 laps to go. Next time by.
On track, we're watching now Brendan Bedonia as he traces down Eric Troiano.
This has been a good night for Bedonia. He's up 10 spots from his start.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't really have a great qualifying. Qualified way at the back of the field. But now up inside the top 10 with the attrition obviously helping him out. But, his pace hasn't been bad either. He's been there or thereabouts with all of the drivers around him. Actually running a little bit faster than the 2 or 3 cars in front of him. So he's got some pace in that number 49 car. Just needs to try and maybe get into position to make those moves to get up front and maybe grab 6th or 5th positions. Chad Frankenfield's on pit road. There you go. So you wanted someone to make that call. He was listening maybe. Chad Frankenfield splitting this final run in half. That's curious there. The question is, does he draw Adriano Pinero and Alexander Vandesant down pit road? Because they have to respond to that theoretically. Or do they say, hey, we're going to take that risk and maybe try and lock Chad Frankenfield a lap down? Very interesting.
See what happens. Frankenfield's away.
What's that?
Let's see where the leaders are.
That was an 8.5 second pit stop. So that was 4 tires as well. So he didn't bypass tires there. I thought it might have been a little bit quick for just tires. But here we go. Frankenfield is your first car 1 lap down. So this is where things get interesting. If you're Adriano Pinero, you're Alexander Vandesant, you start asking this question because I love the move from Chad Frankenfield.
Tires and he's gonna start charging here.
Yeah. First of all, I love the move from Chad Frankenfield. I love watching guys make that call.
Wait a second. You just said you were Mr. Cautious and
I
didn't want to do it.
I would not do it.
Don't give me that.
I would not do it, but I love the move. I said that. I said I'm curious to see what happens. I wanted to see someone try it. I'm glad it's one of our top 3 drivers that tried it, especially. Chad Frankenfield was trapped. I think that's the best move he could have made. I certainly would not have had the guts to do that. I do like Chad Frankenfield taking the risk. He's running in 23rd position in the points, right? He's running far back. He's got to make some kind of jump at it. He knows he's got a quick race car. He just doesn't have the track position. It makes sense, I think, for him to make the move. Again, I don't think I would have had the guts to make it. I'm curious to see how this plays out for Chad Frankenfield.
Vandesant is within about 0.6 of a second now. Pinero got held up by lapped traffic there coming down the backstretch.
Yeah, this gap keeps fluctuating between these two. We're going to keep paying attention. So 23.9 for both of our leaders that last time around. 23.5 for Chad Frankenfield. 0.4 of a second faster on that lap. And remember, Chad Frankenfield...
23.4 last time around now.
Yeah, so Chad Frankenfield was only about a second behind Adriano Pinero. So think about that. If all the pit stops are completed here under green flag conditions, Chad Frankenfield will be your leader when they come off pit road. There's no question about it.
They actually ran identical times last time by both 23.39.
Yeah, wow, how about that? So Frankenfield. 4-7 versus 23.91 and 23.93 for our 2 leaders. So he remains a lap down, but here's the question now. We're going to show you guys the track map. Chad Frankenfield there in the 15 car. You can see the 12 car of Adriano Pinero and the 97 of Alexander Vandesant on the other side of the racetrack. They're really, though, just separated by this back straightaway. You can see them there just heading into turns 3 and 4. So for Frankenfield, they're in sight. He gets back on that lead lap, and he's in a fantastic position. I think he's already in a great position unless a caution flag comes out. There goes Craig Forsyth.
So Forsyth's taking that same tactic somewhat.
Yeah.
Pitting early.
So, again, the biggest thing, you're just nervous if you're Chad Frankenfield right now. You're nervous for a caution to come out. Someone who makes that mistake just drops that left side tire slightly too low in turns 1 and 2, and it's all over. You're back in that same spot that you were in, or potentially even worse track position than you had before you came inside. It's so tough. It's such a high-risk move here. But, again, we've got few cars on track. I don't know.
Troiano's hitting the pits as well.
Yeah, Eric Troiano running down pit road. So here we go. Pinero, Vandesant trying to run this tank dry. They pitted on lap 147. Oh, and there it is. The caution's out. Craig Forsyth crashed Chad Frankenfield's worst nightmare.
Let's see what happens. He's on cold tires.
Oh, and it's in turn 3 this time. We got a bit of a change there. So at least there's
cold
that.
Tires, he just lost it.
Yeah, just nothing there, and it's the exact same type of incident that we saw in turn 1 and 2 for everybody else. It's just this time it happened in turn 3. We'll go on board with Craig Forsyth. But man, we're going to talk about this here real quick. But Chad Frankenfield, the last thing he wanted to see. Here we go, Craig Forsyth, cold tires into turn number 3. You see there, just way too low on the entry. And it's day over.
And almost got clipped.
So Frankenfield, man, you hate to see that for him. I love the move, but that's exactly what I was afraid of. That's exactly why I would not have made that move if I was in his position. I love the fact that he tried it, but you got to feel for him because that's going to put him in awful track position here on this next run.
Okay, Pinero, Vandesant, everybody's in. The top 6 cars are in. That'll put Frankenfield behind the pace car.
Yep, he's still technically, he's back on the lead lap, but he's going to have to wait for the wave around. So he'll end up restarting realistically, I think, here in the 7th position. So, I mean, that's what the loss looks like for Frankenfield. I wholeheartedly believe he can drive himself back up into 3rd, but yeah, that's not the result he was certainly hoping for. Here we go. Vandesant wins the race off pit road. Another great job by the 97 pit crew. Pinero is going to have to make that move on the racetrack again if he wants to win this race.
Next time by, we will have 35 laps to go. And we might still have one more caution that would pack everybody up.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility with just, you don't have to be running around other guys to make these mistakes as we're seeing. It's all just guys fighting the track mostly than fighting each other.
Yeah, we've only had, I think, one incident that was actually contact related. Everybody else just sort of spun it.
Yeah, and I think even that crash was initiated by spinning out on the racetrack. So, yeah, I mean, just
no, we had the one clip where they were.
Yes,
one where they clipped each other.
You're correct, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, it's still been crazy the way this night has played out. With how few drivers we've had, but guys really struggling with that low line in this racetrack.
All right, let's see who's in between Frankenfield and the leaders. Okay, Henry Bennett is up to 3rd now. Madonia's in 4th. Drew Akers 5th. Tony Schoen, then Chad Frankenfield.
Yeah, so 5 cars 4 cars between Chad Frankenfield and Adriana Pinero. Frankenfield certainly, I think Frankenfield has the pace and the ability to get by those cars, despite being on quite a few lap older tires there, 12 lap older tires. I don't think, unless there's another caution flag, like you mentioned, he's got a shot at the win right now. Unless, of course, I mean, we've seen wilder things happen. Vandesant and Pinero could come together. I mean, and if they do, look who's sitting pretty in 3rd position.
Yep. Just as we always expect, Henry's just sort of hanging around there, lurking like the shark, waiting for somebody else to go swimming and screw up.
So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, if Henry Bennett walks away from tonight with a 3rd place finish, I think that would still just go to prove, what the champion mentality that he has is in terms of, you go to his worst racetrack on the calendar and that's the result he's able to pull off. It's impressive, but we'll see that this race has started to play more into his favor. He's just kind of sat and had a quiet night so far. We'll see if he can hold on
the pace
here.
car's off. So we'll come next time around, we'll go to green. Frankenfield pulling up to the back end of the lead pack right now. This is where it gets interesting, kids. Get your popcorn ready because we are back to green flag racing right now. Vandesant pulling away at the start. At the line, heading down into 1, Pinero all over him. Henry Bennett in 3rd. Already got a move now. Bononia moving into 4th. We've got cars moving in the back, and here comes Frankenfield trying to get around lapped traffic.
Frankenfield down on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get by Tony Schoen. Not quite able to get there. Going to keep an eye out while we're watching this battle on the battle for the lead between Pinero and Vandesant. Pinero, though, not quite able to hang on to Alexander Vandesant just yet. Frankenfield completes the pass, moves up. Doesn't complete the pass. I was looking at another car there, Nick DeGroot, the lapped car. There's Frankenfield.
Still trying to get around Schoen.
Pinero
23 threes. 23 threes for both Vandesant and Pinero.
Identical fastest lap of the race. Both of them set a purple lap on the exact same lap there. That's the race for the lead right here. What a great job by these guys.
30 to go.
And there you go, that last lap. Vandesant at 23.17. He's flying. He's found pace now.
He's out to half a second over Pinero.
Yeah, look at that. Incredible speed here from Alexander Vandesant. What a great start to this final stint here. From the driver, the number 97, he's found something that he was maybe struggling a little bit earlier to find versus Pinero and Frankenfield, but he's been getting stronger all race long and starting to separate himself from Adriana Pinero.
And Frankenfield has not been able to get past Tony Schoen.
Yeah, Frankenfield still trapped here in 6th position. That's what, those older tires, that's what it's going to do for you.
A new lap record for Vandesant, 23.13.
Yeah, he just keeps adding to that pace. Incredible speed here from our race leader. That clean air, that does it for you. Eric Triano, though, is in the wall, and we're back under caution.
And this packs him back up, so let's see what happens here.
Triano gets too low. He's going to spin it. Is he? Yes, he is. There he goes.
Yes, he goes right up into the wall.
It's, you can pretty much call it with these cautions here tonight, can't you?
Yeah.
Same exact incident for all of these drivers. It's unfortunate. This track has been cruel to everybody here.
Now, if you're Chad, do you stop now under yellow to get back and get fresh tires?
You're the last car on the lead lap, basically. I'd do it. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. He'll lose. He's the second to last car on the lead lap. Brendan Madonia's there, but, are you kidding me? And there you see Tony Schoen, Chad Frankenfield, Brendan Madonia all come down pit road. All of those guys who were the last cars on the lead lap you have absolutely nothing to lose there. You might as well get that, whatever it is, 5-10 lap tire advantage. It's going to be enough to help you somewhat. So, good call there. I like that. It'll give them a shot to try and move forward, but, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody else in the field has anything for Vandesant or Pinero right now. They're just been the class of the field all night long.
Yeah, they've really been impressive. I mean, Chad Frankenfield obviously did a great job earlier on in the race. Just once he lost that track position, he struggled to gain it back. That was the big thing that we noticed with Chad Frankenfield, and right now kind of trapped down just in the case of, strategy didn't quite play out for him a couple of times there, but even when he was kind of fighting with these guys, wasn't quite able to make the moves that he was hoping for. But, for Adriano Pinero, this is a second chance for him to get this restart right, get this to work out for him, and maybe have something for Alexander Vandesant. But Vandesant, I think, has found something. He certainly looks like the guy to beat right now, at least if that last stint is anything to base it off of.
We have 25 laps to go here in the Hopegivers 225 in the Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series, the Elite Racing League. Mark Gillespie, Rishabh Khosla with you tonight from virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Alexander Vandesant is your leader. Adriano Pinero second. Henry Bennett trying to go for the third win in a row this season so far is in third place. Drew Akers, Chad Frankenfield to round out your top five. We have 7 cars on the lead lap right now.
Yep, and lights are still on the pace car, so my guess is they'll go off this time by. We'll have 2 laps to go, back to green flag racing then. And there they go off on the pace car, so there we go, perfect. So we should go back to green flag with 22 laps to go in this race, and hopefully that'll be 22 straight green flag laps to finish off this race. That'd be nice to see. No green-white checkers, none of that, no overtime here in IndyCar. It's simply whenever we hit 225 laps, whether that's under green flag conditions or whether that's under caution, the race ends.
So who's your pick while we're thinking? Who's your pick for this weekend in Long Beach in the Real World Series?
I haven't actually seen the results from practice, so that might change it a little bit, though. You know how things can vary wildly. I'm going to go with my heart and say Alexander Rossi, the man who dominated the last 2 times we went to Long Beach and hasn't had a win ever since. Because that's just been unfortunate for his career, at least these past 2 seasons. I'm hoping he can turn around. Let's take a look. Rossi
Herta had the fast lap today.
Surprising? Not at all.
Surprising. Yeah, no big surprise there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in terms of that, I mean, I'd love to see Alexander Rossi grab that win and kind of put himself back on the map in the IndyCar scene, even if it is at the end of this season, get some momentum into next year. But the championship battle is going to be interesting as well. Pelot versus O'Ward. O'Ward, though, struggling in practice by the looks of it, down in P16.
Yeah, but O'Ward was struggling during part of the practice, too. So we'll find out. We are back to green flag racing here at New Hampshire now. 22 to go as Vandesant heads down into turn 1.
He's going to get that
pulling ahead to a slight 0.2 of a second lead over Pinero. Bennett in third.
So here we go. Chad Frankenfield, the man in 5th position. He's going to try and chase down Drew Akers. Get by him. Pinero, meanwhile, not able to make any headroom or headway there on Alexander Vandesant.
And I think Frankenfield has to be worried about Tony Schoen passing him up.
Yeah, Frankenfield right now just not able to make the moves. I think something in the track conditions have changed, because it seems like the racing quite hasn't been the same the longer this race goes on. It feels like it gets tougher for them to make moves the more and more this race plays out. I don't know if that's
Watch
track
Chad.
conditions changing.
Watch Chad, because he keeps taking that low line down right around those seams. Whoa!
Oh, and there he goes. You called it.
Right into the wall. Right into the wall.
Wow. Perfect timing with that call, yeah.
He was taking those lower lines, trying to get somewhere and trying to get some advantage, and we've seen it happen every time.
Here we go.
When somebody hit that lower line, they hit that seam, and he just went straight off to the left.
Man, your pole sitter, the man who was in contention for a race win, just pushes a little bit too hard there, trying to get back after a strategy call went wrong. And it's unfortunately looks like more or less day over, at least in terms of that. But Pinero is back on the gearbox of Alexander Vandesant. Here we go. It's race on with 18 to go.
We did not go yellow under this, did we?
No, we did not, because that happened off the racetrack, and Pinero is going to look to the inside to make the move for the lead. This is for the race win here at New Hampshire.
Pinero tucking in right underneath Vandesant's wing, heading down into turn 1.
Oh, Pinero's low there as well. He's loose. He saves it. Ooh, I thought he was going around.
He was doing the dirt track routine there. Something's gotten slippery down there.
Yeah, these guys are running that seam. They're going aggressive. I'm sure it's a situation where you get close to that seam. The closer you get, the faster you run. But at what cost for these drivers here? Look at how close Pinero is to that bottom lane there. That can so mess you up so easily. But here we go. He is so much more aggressive, so much stronger on this run right here. Vandesant maybe not loving these older tires, and we saw that earlier. Maybe he runs those tires down a little bit sooner than Pinero does. And Pinero right now is the man with the advantage over Alexander Vandesant. That last lap, a 10.5 faster.
Pinero still has a quarter second to gain. He still is a quarter second behind Vandesant with 15 to go. And Vandesant is driving a little deeper into the corner before he makes that turn.
Yeah, Vandesant's putting on some great defensive driving, taking away that line from Adriano Pinero. That's arguably the fastest line around the racetrack, that kind of wrapping that bottom and getting that widest radius there. And Pinero, who wants to use that line, isn't able to because Alexander Vandesant's kind of sitting there taking away the arrow from his front wing. Yeah. And that means off the corner you can see there Vandesant with just so much more of an advantage. So Pinero's got to change something up. He's got to change up his line if he wants to get the move done, though. There you go. Vandesant maybe drives in a little bit too deep. Another car off the racetrack. Not sure who that was.
Looks like either DeGroot. No, it looks like Frankenfield. He's back out on the track, but he's doing like 50, 60 miles an hour.
Oh, so he's got to, there you see. Now he's hit pit road.
He's back in the pit.
So we're good to go there. No worries for that in terms of bringing out a caution. Might have thought he could run, but might have been some terminal damage on that car. So day over, I think, for Chad Frankenfield. Drew Akers.
Hoping he could get some points.
Yeah, Drew Akers also hitting pit road. So he was having a good run up in 7th. Something happened there that's going to drop him back. And here we go. 11 to go.
11 to go.
Pinero falling back from Vandesant. He's going to try again to make that move, but Pinero's kind of stuck on this bottom line, and for Vandesant, as long as he can take away that line from Pinero, he's good to go. I haven't seen Pinero try a different line to try and get some track, try and get a run. He's just not willing to move that car up the racetrack. Maybe that is the situation we're seeing here, where there really is kind of one line as this track continues to evolve. There may just be one available line to these drivers by the end of this.
Or that he realizes he's got one chance to pass Vandesant, and he wants to make sure he makes the most of it. We've got 10 laps to go, 9 at the line, and Vandesant is still about 0.3 of a second ahead, but Pinero knows he's got one shot, and he wants to make the most of that one chance. So he's got to get close enough. You don't want to do it too soon and give Vandesant the chance to come back around.
Yeah, so you're thinking through this move, but also, I mean, if you're Adriano Pinero, how much time does it take to get to the gearbox of Vandesant? Because you have to consider that as well. You have to consider closing in little by little, getting there quickly.
Let's see the track map. Let's do the track map and look. We've got 3 cars up ahead that are slower. They're going to start slowing up Vandesant soon. Here we go. This could be where Vandesant has some issues.
Yeah, so Vandesant has to go side by side there. That was Craig Forsyth. They both make it by cleanly. Next car in front is the 14 of Eric Troiano.
7 to go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Triano stays out of the way. Good job by him.
But look at that. Pinero moved up a little bit. It's only 0.3 of a second now.
And now there's a good gap out on the racetrack. Chad Frankenfield back out on the track, but he should be on the apron. He is out of the way there. And a reasonable enough gap to the next guys. I don't think they're going to lap the 09 and the 27, running a little bit further back. So it should just be a straight-up battle now between these two drivers. No lapped cars. Nothing to really change this race.
5 to go.
Vandesant versus Pinero. Vandesant with the advantage, though, right now. That last lap around, Vandesant was faster, taking away that line from Pinero. We saw Pinero run that higher line when he was trying to clear the lap traffic, but he's now gone back down to the bottom. So clearly it might just be a situation of there's just no place on this track to make a move unless Vandesant is forced into a mistake. And if that's the case, if you're Adriano Pinero, you need to try and be as close as possible to force Vandesant into a mistake. But right now, the man who won at COTA on Wednesday in the Cup Series is looking unflappable. He's found something here tonight at New Hampshire, and could he get 2 wins in the span of 1 week here in the Elite Racing Leagues? It certainly looks possible here as we're about to come to 3 laps to go.
It may be that Pinero realizes if he tries to make that move and he's going to wind up being in the wall if he's not careful. And better to come home second than come home 8th or 9th in the wall.
Absolutely, that's something that I'm sure he has to be thinking about, because he also is another one of those drivers.
Oh, here we go. We got more laps traffic ahead. They got up by the 09.
Okay, they do a good job there. So Vandesant clears.
Acres.
Pinero does as well, but I think loses time by doing so.
They're past Del Porto. Or the leader's past. Vandesant's past Del Porto.
Yeah, I think Vandesant's been more lucky with traffic, and I think that's pretty much sealed the deal from my point of view, at least. That's a much larger gap now between Pinero and Vandesant. 0.7 of a second here. 1 to go.
It looks like I don't want to say this, but it looks like Del Porto kind of held up Pinero just a little bit. He didn't quite move over as much as he did for Vandesant.
Well, half
he did not move over for his fellow Brazilian. We're on the final lap right now, the Whiskey Cast last call, as Alexander Vandesant comes around. Call it, Rish.
Checkered flag is out. 2 race wins in a 1 week for Alexander Vandesant. He's going to win here at New Hampshire just like he won at the Circuit of the Americas in the Cup Series. What a week for this young driver here, the American Alexander Vandesant. Incredible drive here tonight. Found that pace late in the race, and yeah, incredible job by him.
And the Hopegivers 225 goes to Alexander Vandesant. 1.16 seconds behind Adriano Pinero. Henry Bennett continues his lead in the championship, bringing it home 3rd tonight. Tony Schoen, Brendan Madonia, Nick DeGroot, Eric Troiano round out your top 7. As Alexander hits the burnout.
Second time he's got to do that again. I mean, we very rarely see repeat winners in Elite Racing Leagues, especially between series. I mean, you're talking about cars that are so different to drive. But Vandesant kind of, putting himself down as one of the top guys to compete with if you want to try and win a championship, win races in the Cup Series or in the IndyCar Series. He does that again here, gets his season back on track. Let's take a look at those official results here for the Hopegivers 225.
Once again, Vandesant, Pinero, Bennett, Schoen, Madonia rounding out your top 5. We'll talk with Alex Vandesant in just a minute. Chad Frankenfield wound up 11th after that late accident. Craig Forsyth had a great run, finishing 9th. Brendan Madonia, a stellar performance tonight to come in 5th.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, just 5 cars there finishing on the lead lap, so impressive by him to do that. But, I mean, here we go. Let's bring him in. 2 races you've had this week, Alexander Vandesant. On Wednesday night, you won in a Cup car at Circuit of the Americas. Tonight, you win at New Hampshire in an IndyCar. Talk us through this win, man. Talk us through this week. It's been an incredible run for you here in the Elite Racing Leagues.
Yeah, it's been a really good run of 2 weeks for me. Just lots of really good finishes across all the leagues and series I do. So, really happy with this win. It was a tough race. I mean, Adriano and I were neck and neck that whole time, and Chad was right there too. He would have had a great strategy if hadn't gotten away from him. But man, that was that was a fun race. Love this track. Love this car.
Alex, tell us what was happening every time you guys came down into turn 1 and 2. Almost every caution we had tonight was because somebody lost it. Down in turn 1, coming around turn 2, the back end would slide out. What was it like driving that through that turn that was causing everybody to slip and slide?
The car wasn't particularly loose unless you like really overdrove it. So what was probably happening was it's probably hard to see on the broadcast, but it like flattens out at that bottom lane. Like
we saw the seam.
Oh yeah, the seam. Yeah, so I'm guessing people caught that, and I was able to actually kind of use it on old tires. But it's pretty risky. If you hit it wrong, it's just gonna loop around. Or if you're like really pushing the car, you can overheat the right rear. If you have a lot of weight jacker in it, that'll send it around.
How hard was it to balance the weight jacker to try to take the pressure off your tires and hang on to those tires?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my car was burning off pretty tight. Although, like looking at the end of each of these stints, I had like pretty much equal wear on the front and rear right sides. So just an odd setup, to be honest. But I was able to keep it pretty balanced in that last run in the clean air. But overall, just I'm a lot more conservative than a lot of people when it comes to weight jacker and adjustments and stuff. So actually brake bias was the biggest help for me.
Rish?
Alex, wanted to ask you about the track evolution that we saw tonight. Did you feel that, kind of at the start of the race, it felt like we could see guys running 2, sometimes even 3 wide, and by the end, it really looked like it was just one lane around the racetrack. Did you feel that in the car, or was that just, you kind of were just more comfortable on the bottom the entire night?
I was always more comfortable on the bottom, just because it's such a flat track. You really can't make that top line like really helpful unless you're in super deep, dirty air. So I guess I never really got to that point with how the race played out. So, but overall, the track, I think it cooled down a lot too. Like I was half a second faster at the end there compared to at the start. So yeah.
You want to give any shout-outs for the second race win in a week?
As always, big thanks to my usual sponsors, Happy Trails Chili Company, lmcgear.com, Racehorse Broadcasting, and shout out to Craig and AJ, my teammates, sort of, for this league. They've been a big help. We all learned a lot from each other. So, yeah.
All right. Congratulations on a great win tonight, Alex. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, Alex Vandesant, our winner tonight. Henry Bennett's going to join us here for a second. He holds on to his lead in the championship, and we saw you lurking back there, Henry, just waiting to see if Alex or Adriano made. We were watching you the whole night, just sort of hanging back there in 3rd to 7th position.
Yeah, I didn't have any pace today. Slight lack of practice, and slight lack of talent as well. But yeah, Adriano and Alex.
Give us a break. You're going for 3rd win in a row. Give us a break.
Oh no, I mean, I said last time short ovals were a slight weakness on this new tyre, and yeah, I should have given this race a lot more practice to get my head around saving the tyre and getting some speed here. But yeah, I didn't work out how to run this place properly. I think bigger field and less attrition. I don't think I would have had the podium. And yeah, I kind of got up front by going for that fuel save strategy at the end. Me and Tony, my teammate, we were going for a 75 lap stint at the end, and we were making the number fine. So we would have made it to the end on fuel, but I'm not sure whether we would have been caught by the guys that pit, because they would have been super fast on low fuel and a cold track.
How close did you get to that seam down in turn 1 and 2 that kept throwing everybody into the wall?
I think I rode it a few times, but yeah, it definitely helps you turn the car, and that's why it was so fast on the low side. I think unusually fast, because I couldn't make the higher lines work today. But yeah, I got close to it, but yeah, never quite spun me. But I was really having to modulate the throttle on exit because the car was lively today. Let's say.
Rish?
Henry, just wanted to ask about, in 2 weeks' time when we've got our next race at Nashville Super Speedway. How do you feel about that type of racetrack? You said you're not a huge
another
fan.
Short oval.
Yeah, well, actually, I believe it's shorter. for these cars. But yeah, where do you kind of sit in that type of racetrack? Do you feel more comfortable there than you would here? Should guys be nervous?
I mean, it's a track that most of us haven't raced on yet. I mean, it was in the Indy Fixed official series last week, so some guys will have a bit of practice on it. I've only done a few laps there, and it looks a lot of fun. And with the Super Speedway Aero on a slightly shorter track, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'd call it a medium track. It's got like the banking of a 1.5 miler, but the length of a short oval. So it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a lot of fun if we can get the right weather and setup. I mean, the setup's going to be a fixed one, but if we can get the right conditions to make good racing, then it'll be a lot of fun and quite interesting.
Well, a lot of your challengers in the series, guys like Tyler Fode, Mark Rebelis, and Justin Fortner, and Hunter Smith skipped the race tonight, and that gives you a chance to really sort of jump out to a dominant lead. You were already coming into this race with a 13-point lead over Fode. He didn't race tonight with a third place. You're going to be even farther out in front of these guys when you get to Nashville in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that really helps. But yeah, it's a long season though. But it always really puts you in a good position if you get the good results early on, and then you can afford to take it slightly easy and take slightly fewer risks in the later part of the season. But yeah, it's unfortunate Tyler wasn't here because I imagine this type of track and setup would have really suited his abilities.
All right, Henry, thank you for joining us. We know it's late over there in the UK, so go get some sleep, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys.
And is Adriana going to join us, I think?
Yeah, looks like it. Looks like we're joined here in the broadcast booth. Second place finisher, Adriana Pinero. Adriana, congratulations on the second place finish here tonight. Talk us through kind of the race as a whole. Led a number of laps, but looked like you struggled a little bit to get behind Alexander Vandesant and make a move there towards the end. Oh, do we have Adriana Pinero?
Adriana, can you hear us?
Hello?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can you hear us? There we go.
Good night, guys. Sorry, I speak little English. I could not understand the question, but I would like to speak a few words.
Of course.
First, I need to sorry for Chad. I really sleepy with some problem in my house. If you look, he have not the repair. And I want to say that I'm happy to be here on the podium. I want to congratulate Alexander for P1 and Henry for P3. The race was very hard. I like short oval very much. I did a unbelievable race. I wanted to win, but the podium was very good, and I hope to more constant to be able to fight for the championship. Finally, I would like to thank in general the Elite Race League for the opportunity again to race the second season. There are a lot of strong drivers, and it is really cool to compete with Averione. I also thank you guys for the great broadcast. I like to watch a leader, and at some moment I can understand very well, and I want to thanks for my sponsors, Brad King, Gelo Pop, and Angaro 8. Good night to all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Adriano, and we'll see you 2 weeks from tonight at Nashville Super Speedway. Great run tonight.
Thank you.
That's Adriano Pinero, our second-place finisher tonight. And any final thoughts, Rish?
Yeah, interesting race. Obviously, big congratulations to Alexander Vandesant. You know, we know how talented he is behind the wheel, especially these Indy cars. You know, and you know, for his sake, I'm hoping that's a bit of a statement. He can start pushing Henry Bennett maybe and start putting together a championship run here as the season progresses. Still a long way to go. But I mean, if you're anybody else in the field, you know, you come into this race, Henry Bennett says it's one of his worst racetracks on the calendar, if not his worst racetrack on the calendar, and comes home with a third place finish. That's got to be a little bit demoralizing. But you know, still a long way to go, and I think still a lot of things can change in this championship fight. So a lot to look forward to.
A lot of great strategies tonight that drivers tried, like Chad Frankenfield trying to do the early pit on that last, what could have been that last green flag run, and then having it not quite work out. But great race tonight in the Hopegivers 225. So that will do it for us tonight from the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Join us 2 weeks from tonight from Nashville Super Speedway, once again the virtual version, 7:30 Eastern Time, here on the Elite Racing League, the Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series. That'll do it for us. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Gillespie for Rish Kosla. Stay safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.